All right, welcome in Patterson Fanatics Special Edition. No countdown, no music, no nothing. This is raw sports talk with the Patterson Fanatics. I'm joined by James, the Dallas Killer Scorza, and yeah, that's gonna stick. And then my man Dave Yarnold. We're here to talk a little bit of Philly 76ers post-game playoffs excitement. Philadelphia 76ers prevail over the Washington Wizards in Game 1 of the opening game playoffs of the NBA playoffs, 125-118 final. Dave, let me get your initial impression of the game as a whole. Like, what did you like? What did you not like?
I love the defensive part of the game. I thought they came out the second half. His defense was very good. Ben stepped up in the defensive wise. I know he didn't know he had 6 points, but other than that, he had 15 rebounds, 15. You can't ask for more than that from Ben. I think that was great, honestly.
James, I know you didn't get to watch the whole thing, but what you saw of the game, what did you like? What did you not like of the game?
I would say the one thing I liked was Tobias Harris playing like a dominant player that we finally got him for, and he finally stuck. Like he basically had how to play better as with Doc Rivers than he did last year with Brett Brown, obviously. But the takeaway I didn't like was that there was a lot of fouls in the game that was really concerning to me, Joey. That there was a lot that there wasn't our calls, but I feel like the refs were trying to the traveling call with Russell Westbrook was like, dude, seriously? I mean, he's like he woke like was it Westbrook or Bradley Beal walking 5 or 6 times? It's like,
yeah.
I mean, really? I mean, come on, man.
No, I agree with that, and I'll let you chime in a minute, Dave. I agree with that. I actually am glad you brought that up because I felt like the refs were overcompensating to the Wizards side. I felt like for some points in the game, there were calls that they were calling against the Sixers that were in favor for the Wizards that weren't really there. Like the one that I can recall right at the top of my head is Bradley Beal pushed Ben Simmons down.
I saw
and
that.
it was clear as day, and the foul goes on Ben. Now, we're fortunate because in the last couple of games, Ben has actually gotten into foul trouble because he's stepped up his aggression. But it was nice to kind of see him keep his head about him, even despite that bad call. I felt like I don't understand how you can call a foul on the guy that's on the floor when you can have clearly – I mean, he didn't push off a Beal just to fall. I mean, I know we saw LeBron James in his Academy Award-winning, fall the other day, but I don't think Ben's in that league quite yet as far as, like, Academy's guild. But I saw the travel that you're referring to with the Westbrook and in the lane.
Happened a couple times, too.
Yeah, a couple times. And then you also have a time, I mean, the Sixers were up, but if we're talking about calling it on both sides of the court, you had a travel call called on Embiid with a Ben Simmons pass to Embiid in the key. He dribbles it, he does a Euro step, and he goes up, and they call travel. And I'm like, okay, how is it a travel if he dribbles? And Embiid actually went to the ref and was like, it's not a travel if I dribble. So I don't understand why you're calling it. The other thing is, and I'll go into like what I liked and didn't like. Paul Spencer, hey, what's up, buddy? So here's the thing. Here's the thing is, with Embiid, he had a shot at the key. I forget who it was, whether it was Gafford or Lopez.
I think it was Lopez.
He was in the no charge lane, and they called an offensive foul on Embiid. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right, dude. Like, I'm trying to understand why we're calling that foul. I mean, that was such I think a slap in the face.
Oh, absolutely.
The thing that I liked and I disliked about the game, the thing that I liked is that the Sixers didn't get too out of their depth with I felt like with some of the early frustrations, they could have easily gotten out of their defensive strategy. And I felt like, I feel like they kind of stayed within themselves. this is what we talked about before. I feel like home court makes you kind of reestablish focus when you need it the most.
Well, that's good coaching too, Joey. You know.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I saw a couple of those times where bad fouls were called, and it's towards the end of this where the free throws are happening towards the end where the Sixers bench is, and Sam Cassell is pleading from the bench, stay in your own head. Don't worry about this.
Stay
It's
solid,
one
right?
moment at a time. Yeah.
Just play your game.
Right. Like, this is what we talked about on the show is the coaching is keeping these guys grounded to where their skills can take them to the next level.
Absolutely. I really feel I like the fact that Sixers make foul shots. They do, and they don't miss many, especially Embiid. For a big guy, he can really shoot foul shots. I think that's great. You know?
Yeah, that's pretty impressive out there. But the thing about it, too, is that the one thing is a little bit concerning about foul shooting is that Ben Simmons, towards the end of the game, was a little bit –
He's not the biggest foul shooter in the world, but for the moon part, they do hit foul shots, you know, and that's
true.
I mean, that's the thing. The only two big guys that are on our team right now that don't and get criticized for not hitting foul shots is Howard and Simmons.
Right.
And we talked about this plenty of times, probably ad nauseum, with why Simmons doesn't shoot the ball more. And I think if you look at I think he can shoot, okay? But let's be clear. If he can't hit free throws very consistently, then he probably can't shoot as well as we all like it to believe he can.
Good point, Joey. Good point. Absolutely. I agree with that.
So you got to think in this perspective. Like, if you got Ben Simmons, who is possibly aware of his lack of shooting ability because of what he sees with the free throws, he's a team guy. He wants to do the best for his team. So everyone who criticizes and scrutinizes him, he's got 6 points this game. Everyone should say, okay,
if he's getting to the lane, Joey, and he's drawing the double team, and he knows that Danny Green or Seth Curry is out for the 3-pointer, and they're going to make it half the time, I'm good with it. Really, it's fine. I mean,
yeah.
Did anybody see the play that they had? Was like a rebound? Like I think Embiid missed it, and Embiid slammed it. It was just like, why can't you do that all the time, Ben? I mean, come on.
I saw it. I did.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing is like you kind of go into that perspective of like what can they do to change some of that landscape of the defense, transition defense and offense.
I thought Maxey coming off the bench was huge.
I
felt like him coming off the bench and scoring right away on an and one was huge.
Huge.
I mean, you could tell that lit up the building.
Yep.
By a lot.
Like Iverson out there a little bit.
he did. I mean, he played really well for a playoff guy. Like a playoff atmosphere. I think he did very good.
First game of his NBA career and his first playoff game in his career.
Yeah, and he stepped up big time.
He looked great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, here's the thing: is like for me, it's if he could continue, and like here's the other question that was on the table already. We had talked about this on the show. Will James get closer to your mic, not the camera?
Oh, I'm sorry.
So here's the thing. With Maxey coming off the bench, with Shea coming off the bench, we asked the question: would Doc go with an 8, 9, 10, 11-man rotation?
Well, I asked you yesterday about that.
Yeah. And today he went with 11-man rotation. And I said to you, the reason why you will figure out what rotation he's going to use is dependent on the situation and the matchup given.
Yep.
Today it was Maxey. Next series or next game or how it feels, it may be Korkmaz. I love the fact that Matisse Thybulle can come off the bench and stifle their best player, offensive player.
Did you see his defense? He played. I mean, that play he made up when they were about to go out of bounds, and he got it before it went out of bounds. Huge, absolutely huge.
Right. Yeah. That's the thing, man. It's just that like it's been overall. I mean, can you guys hear me well? Too?
Yeah. It's better.
Okay. So I think I think overall they played very well. I think a little bit was a little bit skeptical with the. Not, I was a little bit skeptical about the offense with the bench struggling a little bit, but overall I think it was a good game overall. Great game overall. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to see this team understand more about what they're capable of doing in matchups, and this is what makes them dangerous going forward in the playoffs. And we'll get to Game 2 previews in a minute. This is what makes them dangerous going forward, is the depth can change as matchups change.
I think about go ahead, Joey. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joey.
Think about this. Like, Beal and Westbrook spent a lot of time on the floor. They were on the floor for a lot of time.
They were.
And I was keeping track of, you're not going to play your stars like them for 46, 42 minutes in Game 1 and burn them out before the series even gets going. So my feeling is, if, Scott, now I'm blanking on his name.
Scotty Brooks.
Scott Brooks decides that that's the strategy he's going to go with going forward in Game 2 and 3. By Game 4 or 5, where everyone thinks, and you said this yourself, Dave, on the show yesterday, that they could sneak out a win in Game 4 or 5, that Westbrook and Beal might be gassed by that point. Let's just keep that in mind.
Like I said, I think Washington's their strategy was to get Embiid in foul trouble early, which they did, and thinking, okay, if we get him in foul trouble, maybe we can just we can take advantage of that side of the court. But it just blew up in their face in the second half because the Sixers didn't let that happen. No.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. So James, what is the thing? Let's start with you. What is the thing going forward? We're in Game 1. We had a nice, at least in my opinion. I'll get everyone's opinion here. Was that a convincing enough victory to you guys?
I mean, it was a little bit concerning towards the end. I mean, towards the end, it was kind of like up and down a little bit. So I think you have to do better, like in the final minutes of the quarter, to not have that kind of collapse. I mean, look, I'd take the win. A win is a win. I mean, Game 1 is first one. You get the first win. I mean, you get the first win. That's better than anything. But this has got to be better when it comes down to the last few minutes of the game, and especially when it's God forbid like a Russell Westbrook or Bradley Beal trying to look for the game-winning jumper.
I'm convinced with it, Joey. I really am. I think this is the way this series is going to go. It's just going to be like that through 4 quarters of play. It's just, and then once Beal and Westbrook are gassed, we got this in 5. No doubt.
Yeah, and if you double team them too, like we talked about yesterday, if you double team either one of them, then it'll be good night, Irene.
It's here's the thing, is in my opinion, I kind of agree with James in a little bit, and I said this today before you jumped on, James, that usually in the last couple months, or at least the last month, the Sixers on the home stretch of this season basically started to take their foot off the gas in the fourth quarter. And against good teams, you got to play 4 quarters. I mean,
do you consider Washington a good team being an 8 seed?
No. I'm saying we got away with it because they're a bad team.
Okay.
But going forward, if we have that mentality that we can do that, it's not going to be good for us going against whomever that may be going forward. Okay. We're only going to face better teams. We're facing the worst team in the East now.
That's what being number 1 seed is all about. Though you're playing the teams down to you. So if you just keep doing what you're doing, they're going to be fine.
I mean, that's the thing. Is but we don't want to play down now and then flip a switch later. Because here's the thing, I don't know if we can flip a switch against the Nets to just all of a sudden say, "Oh, we got to play 4 quarters," if we never did it before.
I'm not scared.
Yeah. I mean, see, that's my major concern.
Put this in perspective too, Joey. It's only the first game of the playoffs. Okay.
I agree.
And like I said, once they get their feet wet and they start playing like they know how, they'll roll. I'm not concerned about it.
So the one thing that we pointed out on the show yesterday is that I said that the Wizards are kind of like that pitcher in baseball that's already warmed up, and the Sixers are kind of still warming up. So I felt like, okay, coming into this game, you could see Washington go on a run. I was really elated that, the Sixers said, okay, we're not going to just shoot threes to start the game because we could go 0 for 8.
Right.
We're going to attack the hole. And I liked how it was like each of the top three, Tobias, Ben, and Embiid, had the first 3 buckets.
Well, we won for 9. Well, we won for 9 in the first half of 3-point range. We couldn't find it. We couldn't buy a basket.
Yeah,
well, what?
32.
Go ahead, James.
No, I was
Gotcha.
just saying basically, regardless of I think when you get into the zone, I mean, the thing I loved about it too is when those streaks were heading their way, I think it was in the third quarter rather, when they were just on that 10-0 run. I think that's when everything was saying, yeah, they're gonna win this game.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the thing: is I noticed at least in the first quarter, maybe not necessarily in the first half, because I feel like they started to warm up a little bit. I felt like George Hill was the best 3-point shooter we had on the team.
George Hill stepped up today.
Yeah. And so I felt like he was the best 3-point shooter we had, or maybe even shooter we had in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
But going forward, I saw in the first half that we were undershooting the ball, which is always a kind of a sign of a little bit of rust.
I thought Danny Green stepped up a little bit during the second half.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Danny Green, the greenhouse, basically was shooting threes from the corner like he normally does.
Like he does. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing is this team, once they warm up, they're going to be more lethal offensively. You said
that too, Joey, a while ago. You said that Danny Green can shoot from anywhere on the floor, and I believe that. I do. I'm starting to see that more.
I mean, here's the thing. Danny Green, his specialty is the corner, but it's not to say a shooter can always shoot from almost anywhere on the floor if they're confident enough in it. That's why Damian Lillard and Steph Curry can be as successful as they are, because they can shoot from anywhere, and it makes no difference. Their confidence level is just as high shooting from the logo at half court than it is from shooting from 12 to 15 feet away from the hoop. I mean, that's just the bottom line. I mean, and when you have a guy like Danny Green who's been around this league, and we talked about Danny Green being the possible modern day Robert Horry, this is a guy that knows his game. He curtails it so that he can play to the perfection level that he can play at each and every night. And when he doesn't, he's disappointed himself, or he tries to get other teammates involved.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
you can shoot from anywhere on the court, I mean,
go ahead, James.
He's a winner.
Yeah, I think that the other thing about Danny Green too is that, like you said, he's the Robert Horry of all the he won 3 rings and stuff. And it's hard to believe he has 3 rings, but it's kind of like the journeyman, kind of like Chris Sloan was, for the Eagles a little bit, and also, and then Dwight Howard's the Garrett one, and just be I just love to be here, Yeah. And I think you have to give the I forget his name, the GM. I forget the GM's name, but the one who gave
Morey or the guy for the Wizards.
Yeah, Daryl Morey. Daryl Morey basically got all these players in to help them get you got to come here to get themselves a ring. And now it's kind of similar to, I mean, this team is just fun to watch, man. It's just, I think the one thing I love about this team is that I didn't see with Brett Brown was that it's that everybody gets along with everybody. Everyone has everyone comes together. It's like a blue collar work ethic that everybody has. They try to get them in.
Involved. You know what I mean? Yeah, and I mean, and here's the thing: is this is why I kind of felt more confident about this team than I've felt about other Sixer teams in the past. Mm-hmm. It's that sometimes when you hit that wall in your roster where you're like, well, I don't believe in him. I mean, let's go back to 01. Did you really believe in much of anybody who came off the Sixers bench then? Probably not.
Not really.
Yeah. So I mean, but we talk about Tyrese Maxey, who's a rookie, and he would probably be considered the number 11 guy coming, in that rotation. Mm-hmm. And this guy came in and was an immediate, reaction. He was an immediate influence in the game. Whether or not, and I said, this is a guy that changes the pace of the game. Because all of a sudden you can go from very melodic and very strategic with Ben running the point to very quick and very fast with Tyrese Maxey running the point.
I like Maxey running the point. I think he It's kind of tough to say right now. It's only his first playoff series, but what he does on the court, he's quick. He does play defense at times, and he can shoot the ball. So it's a win-win.
You can't ask this guy. I mean, for a rookie and the body of work he's already put out, especially with this type of season, he's had more minutes than more rookies that were drafted in his position would have because of COVID regulations, health and safety protocols, and stuff like that. I mean, at one point we were down to technically 8 players on a roster, but 7 playable because Mike Scott was not playable.
I guess they're not playing Scott. He's not getting in there. So.
I don't see him on the bench either.
Well, Mike Scott's not going to play unless there's a perspective of needing more defense. He's not going to be your offensive guy. When I say Mike Scott's 3 and D, he's more D than he is 3 at this point.
Right.
Maybe early on in his career, it was more 3 than D, or a little bit of equal both. Paul checks in and basically makes a really good point. Hacka Simmons. We talked about Hacka-Shack and Hacka Howard. Do you think this is going to become a trend going forward in the playoffs? Do you think it's going to be Hacka Simmons?
It could be in the end of games if they're close. I can see that. But if they're blowing them away, no.
I can see that too. I think the thing about it too with Ben is that like it's been going on for it's like a trend now. Like when it comes to he has to find a way to shoot. I know it's like a long story short, but like once you start shooting that basketball, I think you might be a better, like a proven winner, like a good point guard, like an Iverson type,
Yeah.
Instead, he's just like, I mean, look, I love the passing. I appreciate him passing like open passes. I mean, there was a lot of great passes that he had today that were really good, but it's just like you have to have that shooting game to help you get to that next level. And honestly, I mean, it's concerning, but I mean, look, I don't know what to say about Ben because it's just like I'm tired of talking about Ben shooting.
Yeah, I get that.
You know what I mean?
I mean, listen, I understand. I can understand the Ben Simmons debate, and James, at times, me and you have been on opposite sides, and I get that.
Right.
I get out of respect where you're coming from, and actually, me and Tom TK had a conversation and made absolute sense, I think, to both ends, and is we know where Ben can go. We see higher potential in him, and it's not that we're just knocking him because he's not shooting. Right. We're just saying, okay, we know you can bring more to the table. We don't want to get rid of you because you're a talent. We're not taking that away from you. But the talent that you could become if you had that additional scoring. I mean, we're talking about the same thing with Matisse Thybulle, too, in the same vein. Just Matisse is not the superstar that Ben is, but it's the same argument. I mean, Matisse, if he has a shooting game to play along with his defensive game, he'd be a stud in this league.
And that's the thing.
I agree.
And that's the thing with Thybulle. It's just like if he was like a 6 man on the bench, he's like kind of like a Udonis Haslem type, just that comes in for defense. Then absolutely. Then I'll be like, okay, you're just a defensive player, and that's what you're doing for like a Thybulle type. Then I agree 100%. But you have to be if you're a point guard in this league and you're a starting point guard in this league, you just have to shoot the damn basketball. I mean, but I'm not gonna preach to the choir because I've been preaching to this choir for far too long. So I'm like, it is what it is now. It's what it is.
Right. Well, like I said, when you have shooters like we do on this team, Danny Green, Curry, it's such an advantage for the Sixers because Ben can take it to the hole. And I've said this many times before on the show. Ben can take it to the hole, draw the double team, and you know that these guys are going to just, they're going to make the three or it's going to be there eventually. It's going to come. So,
and I mean, I reiterated this earlier, and I'll say it again, is that like Ben had 6 points, so people are going to get on him about that. But he had 15 assists and 15 rebounds. I mean, those are career highs.
But if you're going to give me that every night, Joey, I'm good with it.
I'm good with it too.
You give me 15 on 15, I'm good with it. And it's not a problem.
Look, and to understand and make this real clear, it's like people that can contribute to your team in so many ways. And I know Ben is 6'10", and everyone wants to go, okay, but he should still be shooting. He's a point guard, and let's keep in mind what a point guard's primary role is on a team. They're facilitators.
Yeah.
They are facilitators. There's a reason why there is such a position called the shooting guard. Their primary job is to shoot the ball. Ben is not a shooting guard. No one has ever put him in that class.
And
But
everybody probably would think that he's like Iverson. That he has to be like Iverson because he was a point guard. You know what I mean?
Well, and we've said this before. I mean, I don't think you could put Ben and Iverson in the same conversation. I don't think they're even in the same.
Not even close.
I don't even think they're in the same book. But the thing is Embiid is playing more like Iverson, so Ben has to play better than, I guess, if we're talking comparisons in that way, better than an Eric Snow. He's got to play better than that. And I feel like he's well surpassed that. Now, look, I'm not sitting here saying, because everyone would jump on me in a heartbeat if I'm saying Ben and Eric Snow, like, that's not really good. I mean, Eric Snow is okay, but he's not a superstar.
Would you compare him to like Aaron McKee type?
Aaron had more of a three. I mean, Aaron shot the three, and people are going to criticize him for shooting, not shooting the three.
That's true.
I would almost put him. If I'm going to put him in an all-time NBA thing, and people are going to probably ridicule me about this, because he doesn't have the steals, but he has the intangibles. Gary Payton. Gary Payton was a guy that didn't always have to contribute points-wise, but he contributed in other ways. Steals, defense, rebounds, stuff like that.
We talking about that supersonic Gary Payton there?
Yeah, supersonic Gary Payton. Not the AARP Gary Payton that collected a check somewhere else.
I'm just saying.
I'll be clear. It's the Supersonics Gary Payton.
Okay, just checking.
Don't get it crooked. But
okay.
I mean this is the thing. Is for me it's going forward, and I'll start out going forward. We got the captain checking in. Oh boy.
The captain.
Oh boy.
What's up, ladies?
What's up, my man?
Just doing a little post game.
76ers.
Just doing a little post game. Excited about the win.
That.
Yeah.
Nice. Very
What's
nice.
your takeaway, Tom? What's your takeaway from the game?
I don't like how it seemed like they didn't have an answer for Beal, which I think in games going forward in this round, we talked about it yesterday on the show. I'm not trying to be a curmudgeon. They won. We knew they needed to get this first game, but there's some things that they're borderline cause for concern. Even though you got the win. I didn't catch any of your guys' takeaway.
I told you yesterday that they were going to be slow coming out of the gate, and what happened in the second half? They stepped up.
Yeah, I think they had a little bit of rust, like you said, David, and that's the thing you have to do is that if you have to have a better game plan, is that, look, they haven't played in a week. That's understandable. And, look, it happened with the Eagles, too. Back in 2017, they looked rusty, and then Jake Elliott hit the field goal, and the rest is history in that divisional game. So,
I mean, here's the thing that Paul brought this up in a comment earlier. Tom, do you think it's going to become a trend for Hacka Simmons in the playoffs going forward?
Yes, I do.
Do you think that's a means for concern?
I don't think so.
It's nothing that they're not used to, that they're not expecting. You know what I mean? There was Hack a Shaq, and the Lakers did fine. I think Hack a Ben, you just don't outlet the ball to him in times where they're going to hack. That's when you would outlet the ball to somebody else.
Harris.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that if it becomes a trend with Hacka Simmons, I think Simmons should just get all cocky and just start chucking up threes. If you're going to hack me, at least let me get 3 shots at the line.
That works.
You got to think the percentage will fall in his favor at some point. If you have 20 attempts at the line, eventually you're going to probably make 8 or 9, and that's at least a little less than.
Joe, remember after the show yesterday, you and I were talking about, you're talking about people hating on Ben, and I said I think it's more of a frustration because there's other aspects to his game that he could certainly improve on. Obviously, free throws seem to be one of those as well.
Yeah,
Go to the line and shoot 100. Shoot 100 in practice.
We just brought that up on the show just a minute ago.
He should be shooting 500 a day.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be leaving the gym until he makes 50 in a row. I don't know, 20 in a row, 10 in a row, something.
I think 100's enough.
Yeah. I mean, I brought this up earlier, Tom, is I feel like we like the Sixers Society has basically said, we want Ben to shoot more. And if you look at Ben's free throws and the fact that he struggles making free throws, maybe he knows we all predict that he's a good shooter, but maybe he knows he's not a good shooter because he sees what he's doing at the free throw line, and he'd rather not hurt his team by taking senseless shots. So maybe he just sees what he can contribute. His career, I'll reiterate this again, career high, 15 rebounds, 15 assists today. So like maybe he sees it as, I don't want to be the cancer on the team that's taking senseless shots because the crowd is telling me to. I want to be able to contribute in a way that's going to produce a win. And I know he's going to get ripped for it, but
what did he go from the line today? What was it? 0 for
8. 0 for 8.
0 for 8. Is that a career high?
Could be.
Wondering. It's just like I said. There's ways to mitigate what you have to deal with on the Ben side of the ball. Outlet it to Harris. You could see they did that a couple of times after the hack of Ben, kind of happened. So I think they'll be okay. I just, Bradley Beal's tough, man. He's tough. Like I feel like you could get inside of Russell Westbrook's head, but Bradley Beal's just tough.
Good player. We're not denying that.
Well, I feel like whatever the Sixers did in the first half, I felt like they frustrated Beal a little bit because Beal didn't really score. I think he had 2 points at the end of the first quarter. Mm-hmm. So they frustrated him a lot. I mean, the Wizards' plan was to go to Len in the first half a lot. And I was like, well, you can have that. If that's your game plan, go right ahead. I'm like, he can shoot 50 times a game, all I care. That's fine. But for me, it's like going forward, you got to play 4 quarters. We talked about this a minute ago, Tom, is in order for this team to be successful going forward, you can't take the foot off the gas in the fourth quarter, regardless of who you're playing against. You can't play down to your competition because you feel like you can. Just because they're an 8 seed, like Dave said, they're an 8 seed, so they're the worst team in the East in the playoffs, doesn't mean that you have to play down to them because once you start facing the better teams, from here it's all better teams. You can't play 3 quarters and expect to still win.
Absolutely.
For sure.
So let's get while the captain's on, let's get the predictions for Game 2 going forward. What do we see?
Wednesday night, right, Kelly? Wednesday night?
Wednesday night.
Yes.
Yeah, Wednesday night.
So let's get some predictions going forward, like what we think is going to improve, what we think is going to happen. I'll start with the captain. What do you think is going to improve, and what do you think is going to happen?
You see, kind of Washington's game plan. I thought going into this series there was a chance that Washington was going to try and rough up the Sixers like Miami did a couple years back or last year. It's escaping me now. But, Miami played more of a physical game and kind of put the Sixers back against the wall. I thought that maybe a smaller Washington team would do the same, but I really didn't see a lot of that. I don't know if they'll change their tactics or not, but I see a win on Wednesday. Probably similar in the same fashion. We were just talking about the hack of Ben, so, maybe you kind of switch up your tactics on that end a little bit. Maybe late in the game, if the game's close, you have him playing more off the ball. I don't know. But, yeah, I see them going up 2-0 in the series.
Okay. How about you, Dave? Uh-oh. Getting technical difficulties, Dave. We were good for a while.
Man. Dave, you were rolling there.
You were rolling. James, so, Dave, just hold on. I'll come back to you. Relax. James, we'll jump to you. What do you think is gonna your predictions for Game 2 and your improvements, and what do you think is gonna happen?
I'll say first what I'll say with the improvement is that the bench has to be better on Tuesday for sure. So I think the one thing they have to do be better on is that when it's coming down to crunch time, you have to be better closing out the games. And that was a little concerning today, seeing that close game like that. But we win. A win, like I said, a win is a win, no matter like how you slice it.
especially in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think you have to like Embiid has to be that killer instinct and say, you know what, you ain't gonna get me in foul trouble again this time. I'm gonna kick your ass, and that's the one thing we have to do. And the third thing is too is that when Embiid he has to be like, you fouled me 3 times in the first half.
See him going up 2-0 myself.
Let's say 2-0.
I think, like I said before, I think Washington's game plan was to get him beaten.
Okay.
That
So we
was
got
a negative delay.
yeah, we got your predictions, Dave. So relax. It just came like 10 minutes late, but it's fine. We're good. You're good,
Can
buddy.
you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Did you make that prediction? Did you make that prediction in 1995 and it just got here now?
It bounced off the satellite and the space station.
Oh,
You were thinking, Dave, are you an astronaut? You just didn't tell us. I mean, we know you're a space cadet with Dallas Cowboy fandom, but I mean, are you an astronaut?
Maybe Dave hasn't upgraded since 95. Maybe he's still working on the AOL or something like that.
Wow,
man.
shots fired.
The captain's a little fired up today, Davey boy.
My predictions going forward with game 2, I feel like it's going to be a win. I feel like they're going to tighten up their defense a little bit. There were definitely some flaws going forward at the end of the game and kind of the end of the half. I mean, the Wizards are not – I mean, they're an offensive team, but Beal didn't have a lot of points in the first half, and yet the Wizards still scored over 60. So for me, it's like, okay, they need to tighten up on defense on all 4 quarters. It doesn't matter. So I see the adjustment being more on the defensive end than worrying about Ben. Ben's going to get his no matter what. And go ahead.
Did I mush Dave? Was he doing fine until I popped on and then
it's
it
okay.
went to crap?
It's
sorry.
okay. It's okay. The captain gets the captain.
Oh yeah, but he doesn't want to slight anybody else in the process.
I know. He'll be fine. He'll be back. But anyhow, so this is where I see this going. I said this, and we'll do this as kind of like a parting question going forward too. Tom, do you see? We brought this up earlier. Westbrook and Beal played a lot of minutes this game, and if Brooks plays them that many minutes for the next 2 or 3 games, do you see them being gassed by game 4 or 5?
No, they play a lot of minutes all year long. I don't think,
Okay.
especially this time of year, man. You need to be ready. So I don't think they would be gassed. If they were, shame on them.
Right. I agree. All right, fellas. So we're gonna wrap up. This has been.
Sorry I hopped on so late. I'm at the park. I'm
No
at the park
problem.
with the kid now.
No problem. Family day. I get it. It was kind of like I wanted to do this. I didn't really. Al came on, and
I love it. This is great.
Um,
Great, man.
I wanted to add more fire. There's fervor. That was 11,000 people in the stadium, in the arena.
Yeah.
Felt a lot more than that. I mean, at times it
There's
felt
a lot
like
of
we were
people,
ready.
too. There's a lot of people tonight. I saw a wide shot. I was like, "Holy shit!" There's a lot of fans.
Yeah, there's a lot of fans, and like I said, this this team is going to get a lot better because of their home court. It's going to get a lot better because of the fans that are going to be in the stadium, in the arena. The loud, if that's 11,000, and that's not even a packed house. And that sounded like a packed house. I told you guys, when it becomes packed, they're going to be breaking decibels. The microphones will have to be turned down because there's going to be a lot of loud noises. And it ain't coming from the players this time. It's coming from the audience. It's coming from the crowd. So I'm really fired up about that going forward. So, James, Sixers game 2, win, right?
For sure.
TK, Sixers game 2, win. Okay, I think he said yes. So we all
What's
are
that?
unanimous. Sixers game 2 victory.
Yes.
Okay, so we're all unanimous. So my hope is to do this throughout the playoffs, but we'll see how
I'm
it
down.
goes. This is the Patterson F and X from my main man TK, Captain El Capitan. For my main man James, for my man Dave Yarnold, who
Dave,
still has to improve his
I lost
AOL.
you, Dave. I'm sorry.
Still has to improve his AOL. I mean, we've changed from dial-up, but it's okay. You'll get there. For my main man Paul Spencer, contacting and dropping lines on the text board. My name is Joe Marks. We're passing F and X, and we're out.
Later, boys.
See ya.